لآخر نقطة دم في روحي، لآخر نفس فيا. لما يعني خلص هيك يبطل فيا نفس أنا خنق أموت، بعديها بندفن حتى في أرضي.
Tons of bombs. Their flesh is in the street, the people flesh is in the street, the dogs eating from the bodies there. And you are watching. So, should I have any respect for this world? No way. No way.
You saw the death of multiple journalists, your friends who had family members killed,
Yes.
Despite wearing press jackets, despite saying that they were journalists, they ended up dead.
A lot of my colleagues passed, a lot of my friends passed. I lost more than 18, 19. I stopped even counting. A friend of mine, he was in the north of Gaza. He was trying to reach me out to help him to evacuate or to send him money. And because I received thousands of messages, I didn't notice his message. And I was in Geneva, I received his news that he got killed. That's why he was waiting for a flower, to get flour from the trucks. He got killed by a sniper. And I know him very well. We used to be the two young men who go here and there, trying every restaurant here and there, spend the time taking pictures together. And he passed. And Hamza Dahdour, Mustafa, they got killed by Israeli drone.
What is your last memory of Gaza?
I remember trying to find a way to escape from Israeli tanks, that it's so near to us. Watching the Israeli tanks at the end of my street. At night, the flames of the light flames, that the army is there and so close to us.
Many families have been moved from the north and to central Gaza, and then now to Rafah. There is still so much uncertainty. Just talk us through then the Gaza that you have left behind.
I witnessed with my own eyes people leaving their houses, homes, everything behind, and run for safety. But for some, even while the people was going to the safe places, they got bombed on the main way. I witnessed these, and it was the most hard things to watch. Believe me, I watched a bombing, I watched people getting killed by Israeli airstrikes, but watching this was, for me, it's hard to watch. Yeah, watching your people losing their houses, losing their homes. You lost the access for the city. Yeah, we even wasn't the best place to live in, but we was happy about Gaza. Small, good food, good people. Okay, it's really hard to live there, but it's your home. Now they are in, and they destroy all of it.
All of it gone?
Literally all of it. Even my street was the very calm street, usually. And people there are so peaceful. They bomb, like we lost more than 40 neighbors. They bombed like 7 buildings there. So they didn't leave any place without their marks there, which is destruction.
How do you feel about the international community's reaction and response to what's happening?
I don't know why we have high expectations from the internationals. I don't know why we used to that. Like, let us film and show the war. Okay, let us show the war, but no one stopped the war. No one stopped the killing. We saw in the past aggressions. No one did anything. Even no one repelled what Israel destroyed before. So for me, I didn't expect that much, but I did my best. It's a duty, it's my home. That's it. I didn't expect something from the war.
At around 6:30 in the morning, as 4 of the journalists turned into the street leading to the camp, wearing bulletproof helmets and flak jackets with press markings, several single, seemingly well-aimed bullets were fired towards them from the direction of the Israeli security forces. One single bullet injured Ali Samoudi in the shoulder, and another single bullet hit Abu Akleh in the head and killed her instantly.
Well, the UN findings are in tandem, really, with findings from other news organisations who, since Shireen was killed, I'm talking about the Associated Press, the New York Times, CNN, all of them have looked into the circumstances surrounding the location and where and how Shireen.
When any soldier used it, he used it for definite target. He want to hunt, he want to kill.
We're determined to follow the facts and get to the truth of what happened. No, they've not yet, but no, I'm sorry.
There is a U.S. law known as the Leahy Act that says explicitly that the United States may not provide any weapons, any training, any military support to any unit of any military anywhere in the world that has carried out a gross violation of human rights. The killing of Shireen was a gross violation of human rights.
احتلال القاتل والمجرم قام بإطلاق النار علينا دون أي سبب. نحن كنا متوجهين كمجموعة من الصحفيين نرتدي الزي الصحفي الكامل، إضافة إلى الخوذ ومكتوب برسم بالإنجليزي قد العالم كله. حرصنا انه نمشي قدام دوريات الجيش بشكل مباشر عشان يشوفونا وشافونا، وبعد ما قطعنا في الطريق اللي ما كانش فيه لا مسلحين ولا مدنيين ولا في اي اطلاق نار ولا في اي احداث، تفاجأنا
الله يرحمه. كبرنا على جملتها واحنا نرددها في كليات الاعلام. شيرين ابو عقله، الجزيره. رام الله المحتله. لا تسعفنا الكلمات اليوم للتعبير عن حجم الحزن الذي يسيطر علينا كصحفيين من الدرجه الثانيه ايضا وكمواطنين فلسطينيين قبل كل شيء.
في اللحظات الصعبة تغلبت على الخوف، فقد اخترت الصحافة كي أكون قريبة من الإنسان. ليس سهلا ربما أن أغير الواقع، لكنني على الأقل كنت قادرة على إيصال ذلك الصوت إلى العالم. أنا شيرين أبو عقلة.
Stormed her funeral, bulldozed her memorial, and now Israeli soldiers have done this. That's footage of Israeli soldiers tearing down Shireen Abu Akleh's image at Al Jazeera's office in Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. The soldiers raided the office on Sunday and ordered it closed for 45 days. Israel had already banned Al Jazeera in Israel and in occupied East Jerusalem. But Ramallah, remember, is supposed to be under the control of the Palestinian Authority. The Ramallah office is where Shireen used to work until May 11, 2022, when an Israeli soldier shot her dead outside the Jenin refugee camp. Shireen was there covering yet another Israeli assault on the occupied West Bank for Al Jazeera Arabic. So why won't Israel let Shireen rest in peace? Why does her image offend them so much?
بتسهيل الدخول إلى مدينة القدس.
Shireen was one of the most prominent witnesses to Israel's occupation. For 25 years, she broadcast from the occupied territories through raids, elections, wars. Her killing shocked Palestinians. Indeed, it shocked the Arab world, which had come to rely on her voice for so many years. Since her killing, Palestinians have painted her image across the occupied territories. It's an ever-present reminder of the price she paid and of what everybody has lost. But her image now is not just one of a journalist or even of a Palestinian. For many, her image is a symbol of resistance. And it's been said, as long as Shireen's memory is alive, so too is that struggle.
Where Al Jazeera's offices are, there we are, another strike on that tower. And the tower has come down. That is the Al Jala Tower. That tower is where Al Jazeera's offices were housed. The Associated Press offices were also housed in that building. Whenever you see journalists doing live updates from Gaza, they're usually standing on the roof of that building, which has now been flattened in an airstrike by the Israeli military. So that is a landmark, an institution that has now...
Journalists, because of the quality of their report, because of they're looking for the truth, the first victim of war is the truth. So people that declare war or make wars happen or don't want the truth to come out. So it's like a medal for us. I mean, if you try to kill reporters, that means that we are doing a good job. Otherwise, why would you bother to try to stop us? So we are looking for the truth. The Palestinians are paying a really high price. It's a dangerous job, we know it. But all around the world, and in certain countries more than others, journalists are a nuisance for the governments because they don't want the world to know what they're doing. And obviously, by the fact that in Gaza, a lot of victims are civilians, journalists are not welcome. Of course, we're a target, and of course, we are a nuisance for the people who are trying to hide something. And the Israeli operation is killing a lot of civilians. So, of course, they're keen not to show that. And the Palestinian photographers working there are showing that. So it's a war of communication.
We saw mostly children. I mean, this is undescribable. This is like a massacre. But me standing right here in the hospital, I can clearly tell you that the number is going up.
Hello everyone, this is Nur Hawazin from Gaza. They've cut all connection in the Gaza Strip.
I have to believe and live through the fact that no one is safe in Gaza, that I could just get killed in any day, in any time. Today also we went to a Shifa hospital. The situation is undescribable. We saw whole families killed in a Shifa hospital, women and children. The voices.
Are we under the impression that somehow some of the most seasoned journalists in the world, people who've been to Syria, to Iraq, to Yemen, to Afghanistan, somehow they can't go to Gaza? I'm confused.
They know and they believe that Gaza is a place where journalists are deliberately targeted.
So you believe this is actually an admission by global news outlets that they know that actually the IDF is targeting journalists, because otherwise they would be trying harder to...
محدش فاق، محدش حس، فيش ضمير. انتوا وين؟ انتوا وين؟ وين بعد أكثر من 40,000 شهيد؟ إيش بدكم أكثر من هيك؟ متخيلين حجم المعاناة اللي مرينا فيها الليلة؟ الليلة كانت صعبة على مدينة رفح، راح فيها شهداء كثير. ممكن كنت أنا أكون من بين الشهداء، لأن الاحتلال الإسرائيلي هذا ما بفرق لا بين طفل ولا مدني ولا أي حد. الاحتلال الإسرائيلي غاشم، الاحتلال الإسرائيلي يقتل كل شيء، يقتل الحياة في غزة. أصحابي استشهدوا وجيراني وسند والضحكة الحلوة وكل إشي راح، كل إشي عمدة عين ضاع. أنا مش عارف شو أحكي بعد أكثر من 206 يوم. مش عارف شو أحكي. أنتوا ما فقتوش للدم؟ الدم ما فوقكوش؟ دم الشهداء والأطفال والنساء كل يوم مجازر بتصير، محدش فاق، محدش حس، فيش ضمير. انتوا وين؟ انتوا وين؟
الحبيب إسماعيل الغول فارقني في أعز الشدائد وفي أصعب المحن. فراق إسماعيل كسر ظهري. كانت لحظات صعبة، والأصعب أنني عندما وصلت حتى أودعه لم أجد له رأس، انفصل الرأس عن الجسد. كان يقول لي والله اشتقت يا أنس لبنتي، واشتقت لأمي، واشتقت لزوجتي، واشتقت لهم ونفسي أشوفهم. أنا بدي أستمر في التغطية، بدي أضل متواصل، لكن صار نفسي أشوفهم. في كل يوم أو في كل لحظة نتحدث يعني بشكل واضح، يعني إنه إحنا في أي لحظة ممكن أن نستشهد، لدرجة بقول لي ما تنساش تعمل لي نشودة. يعني
استشهدنا وجيش وصيت تعمل نشودة إيه وشو إسماعيل بعدين تعمل نشودتين مقطع. إحنا مستشهدين يعني بس تعمل نشودتين. إذا ضل حدا يعيش.
كل السنوات التي عملنا بها في ميزان، واليوم نقف أمام مرحلة.
فقد إسماعيل والده وفقد أخاه، ولم يرى عائلته. شعور لا يوصف، إلى جانب عملية الاعتقال خلال اقتحام مجمع الشفاء الطبي. آخر تقرير أجراه الزميل إسماعيل اتصلت فيه وقمت بإبلاغه أن هناك استهداف لمنزل في شارع الجلاء، لكن المفاجأة أن المنزل المستهدف كان هو منزل شقيقتي. الاحتلال الإسرائيلي ما بده الصورة أن تخرج، ولا بده الكلمة أن تخرج، ولا بده نكشف جرائم الاحتلال، فبالتالي إما يقوم باستهدافنا أو استهداف عائلاتنا واستهداف الأماكن التي نعمل بها. وأنا من بعدك يا إسماعيل لن أتوقف عن التغطية، وسأستمر في نقل الصورة ونقل الأحداث رغم المخاطر ورغم الاستهدافات. وأنا أتوقع في أي لحظة أن يتم استهدافي، إلا أنني يا إسماعيل سأستمر في نقل رسالتك وأتحدث باسمك من مدينة غزة ومن شمال غزة، ولن نغادر الميدان، وستبقى الرسالة حاضرة، وستبقى الصورة حاضرة عبر شاشة الجزيرة بعين إسماعيل وبصوت إسماعيل.
أنقل لكم المشهد والصورة من أمام هذه الدخائر الإسرائيلية التي وجدناها في إحدى التكنات العسكرية الإسرائيلية في العدوان الإسرائيلي الذي لا زال على قطاع غزة. هذا العتاد وهذه الصواريخ التي أقف أمامها الآن هي صواريخ تمت بها مقتل الفلسطينيين الأطفال المدنيين في قطاع غزة. هذه الدخائر تركها الاحتلال الإسرائيلي في قطاع غزة بعد انسحابه من شمال غرب غزة تحديدا على شاطئ بحر غزة. هذا العتاد كله وهذه الصواريخ تم بها قتل الفلسطينيين عمدا، والإبادات الجماعية حلت بفعل هذه الصواريخ. هنا أنقل لكم المشهد والصورة كما تشاهدون تماما.
Why people in the Middle East, including me, keep tweeting and sharing about the Gaza genocide in English? Are we asking for Western's pity? Are we expecting Western government to do something? Seriously? After 25 days of genocide, of killing thousands of children, of killing innocent women, of cutting fuel and water and electricity for almost 2.3 million people in the Gaza Strip, we still demanding this government to do something? Western governments are pathetic hypocrites. They choose to turn a blind eye to all these atrocities in the Gaza Strip. And you know what? A wise man once said, "We don't need your pity. There is no need to share anything." His name is Mu'taz Azaiza, and he's a brave Palestinian journalist. He just tweeted about this after the internet came back to Gaza, and he saw the whole world turning a blind eye and say, "Oh, we are very sorry." But no one did anything to save the lives of Gaza people.
It's extraordinarily difficult for journalists in Gaza right now to do their jobs. It's been 7 months of war, 7 months when they've not been able to leave. No one else has been able to get in, so they are bearing the brunt of the reporting. They are reporting the war and living the war, so they're subject to the same bomb. So they're operating in extraordinarily difficult conditions, shortages of food, shortages of fuel. Obviously, equipment is beginning to degrade, so it's becoming harder and harder to report out from Gaza and more dangerous.
You mentioned that there is evidence that some of these journalists were deliberately targeted. Tell us a little bit more about that. What do we know?
So we know that in at least 3 cases, journalists have been targeted. There's the case of the Reuters journalist Issam Abdullah, who was killed on the border with Lebanon by Israeli fire. And there have been several independent reports that demonstrate it was quite clear that he was a journalist, visible as a journalist. Israel have admitted to targeting 2 journalists traveling in a car, Mustafa Taraya and Hamza Dakhdour. It alleged that they were terrorists, but we've seen absolutely no credible evidence for that. And we believe there are other cases where it's probable that journalists have been deliberately targeted.
Of course, this is an active war zone, but at this point, what would CPJ like to see in terms of seeking accountability for journalist deaths at the hands of the Israeli military and Hamas?
Well, obviously, we want to see transparent investigations into all of the killings of journalists since the start of October the 7th and any killings of journalists in the region before that. We continue to stress that journalists are civilians and should never be targeted. We continue to call for international access to Gaza. It's really important that we have foreign media also able to get in, able to get a picture of what's happening inside Gaza.
And on
the hardest days during this year was not only being displaced away from home, not being able to meet my family, but the worst and the hardest times where I had to report on the killing of my colleague Hamza Dakhdour. Times were one of the hardest times I spent during that year.
5 of his family members are still under the rubble.
Feel so homesick. I'm only 10 minutes away from where my house is, and I could not go there because of an Israeli checkpoint. This war is on. We're committed to this journey. I refused to leave the Gaza Strip. I refused to leave the Gaza Strip with my family and evacuate my family. And I chose to report, and I'm continue to report.
Nowhere is safe, and Palestinians are targeted. In hospitals, in schools, in makeshift tents, Palestinians do not know where to go. This is Hind al-Khudari, Al Jazeera, Al-Aqsa Hospital, Deir al-Balah.
I'm at Al Nasser Hospital right now. There are 80 premature babies in the NICU room. The Israeli occupation forces are bombing everywhere. They're bombing buildings. Standing right now inside the first refugee camp in Gaza Strip. It's located in Khan Yunis. I never imagined that what I would be reporting and witnessing will be the genocide and the killing of my own people. I can't watch everything silently. I didn't have any internet connection the past 3 days. I had to evacuate where I was. But I don't know what to say exactly. Like, I'm not used to seeing Gaza like getting bombed or demolished or erased that way, even though I lived for aggressions before. But I never saw Gaza like that. I never saw pictures before, and to imagine how half of the people in the pictures are now gone and how half, if not all of the faces are now erased. كثير بكره إنه أنا محطيت في موقف إني أخذ القرار إني أسيب وطني بلدي. I'm not doing anything for my mental health other than writing. I like to write a lot. It's hard to be away watching your people get killed than to be there. Now when you're just away watching with barely any cellular connection or internet there to contact people, like until now, I have friends that I know nothing about. It also feels unfair that how some people are able to travel just because they have dual passport or they have family outside, so they're able to take them. It's also sad that things reach to a point where, as a journalist, I'm leaving my country in the middle of a war just because I want my family and I to be alive. Today is my birthday. I turned posting and reposting what's happening and doing interviews. All of that will help Palestine, or I hope it will help. But I don't believe that you have to be there just to advocate for Palestine. And I'm not talking only about me or me as a journalist. I'm talking about everyone. Like, you don't have to be in Palestine. Literally boycotting, protesting, sharing, everything. We're hoping it will help. Open your eyes. Everything that has been reported, like all the videos, all the pictures, everything is just shared. Everything is on the internet. So please do see us as humans.
First and foremost, this is God's will. It's clear that many journalists are being killed. In fact, journalists in Gaza are being slaughtered. It's appalling to know that 109 journalists have been killed by Israel in Gaza so far. This figure wasn't reached even in large-scale conflicts like the Vietnam War, which lasted 20 years. Despite all this, states around the globe are not taking any action against this killing. Journalists are presumed to be protected by international law and international conventions. Journalists have a noble humanitarian task. They risk their lives to obtain the information to be broadcast and shared with millions of people who deserve to know the truth. I am extremely sad to know that my fellow journalists targeted in this way.
إنها مجرد شعارات نرتديها فقط، هي لا تحمي أي صحفي على الإطلاق، على الإطلاق لا تحمينا هذه الدروع ولا هذه ما نرتديها فقط، هي شعارات فقط. نحن هنا ضحايا على الهواء مباشرة، نفقد الأرواح واحدا تلو الآخر بلا أي ثمن، نمضي شهداء فقط مع فرق التوقيت. نحن ننتظر الدور واحدا تلو الآخر. زميلنا محمد أبو حطب كان هنا منذ نصف ساعة فقط وغادرنا الآن هو وزوجته وابنه وأخيه وكثير من عائلته هم ضحايا هنا في داخل المستشفى.
السلام عليكم أيها الأصنام، وأنا أخاطب هذا العالم الظالم، هذا العالم الأصم الأبكم. أود أن أذكركم أن اليوم 15 لمحرقة جباليا والعملية العسكرية المستمرة في منطقة جباليا في شمال قطاع غزة. اليوم 15 والمواطنون هناك في منطقة جباليا تقام بحقهم أبشع وأفظع الجرائم بحق الإنسانية. يحرقون في بيوتهم، في المشافي، في مراكز الإيواء، يجوعون، يعطشون تحت أصوات القنابل وزخات الرصاص 24 ساعة. في 24 ساعة يعيشون الخوف والرعب والقصف والاستهداف. الشهداء ملقون بالشوارع وسط تقديم إعلامي عظيم ومريب. اليوم نحن نتحدث عن واقع أليم، نتحدث عن جباليا التي عرفت برجالها وبصمودها، بجباليا التي أفشلت مخطط الاحتلال الإسرائيلي بتهجيرنا قسرا من شمال قطاع غزة إلى جنوبه. ألقوا عليهم المنشورات ليخلوا وليفروا هاربين بأنفسهم، ولكن أبوا الجبلية إلا أن يتشبثوا بهذه الأرض ليفشلوا مخطط الاحتلال الإسرائيلي وليكونوا الحصن المنيع بإفشال مخطط الاحتلال الإسرائيلي وخطط الجنرالات. اليوم جباليا تباد، جباليا تتعرض إلى المحرقة، البيوت تحرق عليهم بنسائهم بأطفالهم، المستشفيات الرئيسية والأساسية تم استهدافها وتم إخراجها عن العمل وإخراجها عن الخدمة، مراكز الإيواء ومراكز النزوح تم استهدافها ومحاصرتها واعتقال من يتواجد داخلها. اليوم وسط هذا التكتيم ووسط هذا الصمت الإعلامي يجب أن تكثفوا الجهود وتوجهوا البوصلة نحو شمال غزة. هنا نحن نباد، أود أن أذكركم أن نحن نباد. أنت لا تستطيع أن تفعل شيء من أجل غزة، وصل صوتنا، وصل رسالتنا، احكي للعالم أنه إحنا لسه بننباد. ألا يكفيكم عام لم يكن كافي لتستيقظ الضمائر الحية حول العالم؟ عام ولم تستطيعوا أن توقفوا آلة البطش الصهيو أمريكية؟ عام وأطفالنا ونسائنا تقتل كل يوم ولا أحد ينظر لنا ولا أحد.
What we've seen since the start of the war, and indeed before, is a systematic attempt by Israel to censor information coming out not just of Gaza but the West Bank. That includes the killing of journalists, the deliberate, we believe, targeting of a number of journalists, which would be a war crime, the targeting of media facilities, the banning of foreign media organizations, including Al Jazeera, from reporting from Israel, but also the sanctioning of Israeli news outlets like Haaretz, which was subject to sanctions, and the pulling of government funding very recently for its criticism of the government. We've seen a very high number of arrests, in fact, so many arrests by Israel of Palestinian journalists this year that it puts it almost on a par with China, the leading jailer of journalists globally for very many years. And of course, the banning of international media from covering Gaza, which war correspondents say is absolutely unprecedented in their experience.
الدرع هذا في بعض الأحيان أنا بخاف ألبسه لأنه يعتبر وسيلة تمييز لحتى جيش الاحتلال الإسرائيلي يستهدفنا. فعليا جيش الاحتلال الإسرائيلي استهدف نحو 10% من صحفيين قطاع غزة. احنا فعليا خسرنا كل الإمكانيات الصحفية، كافة الإمكانيات اللي ممكن إحنا كصحفيين نشتغل عليها خسرناها. أنا كانت تجيلي أيام وما زالت وممكن في أي يوم أوصل لمستشفى شهداء الأقصى لمواصلة عملي عبر العربات التي تجرها الحيوانات.
Today I will tell you the story of the journalist Amr Abu Auda. Hi CNTV, here is Jihad again. Amr Abu Auda, a young man, means so much to me. He, like my older brother, he was separated from his family. The family had evacuated to the south, but he's still in the north, surrounded by constant danger, without any food, water, electricity. Despite everything, his dedication to telling the story of Gaza and the situation in the north was never died. Amr was in a Shati camp, and after months without any connection with his family, he finally reconnected and called them. And when the calling began, he finally heard his mother's voice to telling the world about heroes like Amr, like all of us. I am seen. Are you? We will miss you, Amr, so much. More than you can imagine.
We started the project, we started talking about this months ago. It was a shock to all of us that just like the pure numbers, the scale of the killings of the journalists in Gaza was beyond any imagination, and by any standard, it's unprecedented. World War II, Vietnam, the Iraq War, nothing like this had ever happened to journalists before. It's a crisis not just for Palestinian journalists or Arab journalists, but it should be a crisis for journalists worldwide, the journalists community. And to be honest, we weren't seeing the outcry, the sort of the reaction that this crisis deserves. So I have to give credit to Forbidden Stories, the nonprofit based in Paris, whose mission is to complete stories for journalists who can't complete them either because they've been killed or censorship or detained. They brought us together.
Now, I voted against the resolution. I found it crazy. I actually thought it brought the Parliament into disrepute. And I was here for the debate this week, and I have never heard such nonsense in all my times in here. I mean, where does the anti-Russian rhetoric come from? I mean, I don't like the Russian government. We've opposed and condemned the Ukraine invasion on the 24th of February 2022. But we also condemn every other war. The Americans killed over 400,000 along with NATO in Afghanistan. The Americans killed 1 million citizens in Iraq. There was 400,000 killed in Yemen, thanks to our support. But we don't talk about it. I have no particular liking for any one culture or country over another. But I think we should treat them all fairly and cut out this racism. We don't seem to tolerate other countries and other cultures. We call ourselves the civilized people. We're not behaving in a civilized manner. We demonize the Chinese and we talk about a genocide in Xinjiang without any evidence, and we ignore a genocide in Gaza. I don't understand this place anymore.
To those who demand that Al Jazeera be shut down
and that people's right to the truth be suppressed,
we too have demands.
We demand journalists be able to do their jobs
free from intimidation and threat.
نطالب أن يحفظ للناس حقهم في الوصول إلى المعلومة
دون انحياز ولا تدليس.
نطالب بإسماع صوت المهمشين والمنسيين في أصقاع العالم.
We demand diversity of thought and opinion be cherished,
not feared.
We demand journalists aren't treated as criminals.
We demand press freedom.